The self-appointed queen of socialism in Britain, Carol Vorderman, is in trouble because she's breaking BBC's impartiality rules. Again, there's another one. First, let's talk about Carol because she's slightly lost her mind over the last few years. It was better when she was just focusing on showbiz and gossip, politics and celebrities, but somehow she's become an expert when it comes to economic socialism. and the social justice and everything else, even though this is the same Carol Vorderman, by the way, who was quite close to David Cameron in the 2010 the Conservative campaign for the general election against Gordon Brown. She was supporting him and she was actually helping him with a number of issues. She was one of his czars, when they have czars for education and all the other areas. But now things have changed a little bit. This is the latest tweet that she sent out saying, "Morning. I touched the Tory nerve. Marvellous. Telegraph with second poorly written piece in 24 hours from an obsessed GB News presenter called Camilla. Excellent. It gives me an idea. Retweet." By the way, the way she tweets is just all over the place. The wording, the grammar, the spelling, this is a perfect an example of what's going on in her head. Complete chaos. So she decided in this tweet to promote the website stopthetories.vote, which is about tactical voting. So it says, tactical voting website, sign up now. When we go live for general election, we'll upload intense scrutiny of all Tory MPs, their voting, their scandals, their specific links to PPE, their activities of businesses, activities of those who receive donations from, their second jobs, U-turns, much more, blah, blah, blah. So she thinks she's the British female Gandhi. She wants to... and she thinks that the Tory government is very right-wing, which is absolutely hilarious considering how liberal the Tories are. But somehow she forgot that she works for the BBC. She's in trouble because of breaking the impartiality rules, the guidelines that the BBC themselves set. So Carol Vorderman is now being accused of breaching the BBC's own rules with anti-Tory rants that make Gary Lineker's comments seem mild. Last month, the Star accused the government of being gaslighting crooks. And of course, Gary Lineker got into trouble. But because it's Gary Lineker, he managed to win against the BBC because he said, I'm going to walk away. You need me more than I need you. So the BBC surrendered. And the BBC said, we have to review the guidance. Now, someone like Carol, who doesn't present a football show, she constantly talks about politics and she's part of the BBC. She should be dealt with because this is a public organisation. We're using public money. It's not a private entity. It's not private business where they could just do whatever they want. They have a duty, public duty, and this is the guidelines that they set for themselves. For example, look at this tweet. Carol Vorderman said, the Tory government has now lost around half of those who voted for them in 2019. Why? Because they are a lying bunch of greedy, corrupt, destructive, hateful, divisive, gaslighting crooks. No need for a focus group, Sunak. I'll just tell you the same. Part of the things she said is correct. But people like Carol are not criticizing the Tory establishment because they want a better conservative movement. No. They want socialism. So for those who accidentally support what Carol says on Twitter saying, yeah, I'm angry at Rishi Sunak too. The Tories are not conservative, so let's support Carol. You do it as you're supporting a revolutionary movement led by an idiot. So they're not going to be criticizing the Tories because they want to make the Conservative Party, sound again. They just want more left-wingism. They want more socialism. Anyway, let's talk about this part of it because the BBC's social media guidelines apply to anyone who works for the corporation in any capacity and state. Where individuals identify themselves as being linked with the BBC, their public expressions of opinion have the potential to compromise the BBC's impartiality and to damage its reputation. The problem with the BBC is that they already set a bad precedent by surrendering to Gary Lineker. The issue with that, by the way, was it was the BBC's fault in the first place, the problem with the Gary Lineker issue, because they never clarified what they meant by someone being linked to the BBC and being able or not being able to post political tweets. It would have been easier to clarify from day one that we're just going to be focusing on BBC News presenters, the news team, and not the sports presenters. Or they could have just been very clear that it applies to everybody, including Gary Lineker. So that's why they lost that battle. Now, it will be a lot easier for Carol Vorderman to actually win this as well, because she could just say, well, I just present a radio show in Wales, and I've always been consistent, political, and everything else, and it's your fault that you hired me. So Carol could win against this, and the BBC are not taking proper action against her. They are still reviewing. They're reviewing cases and all these guidelines. So we have to wait for the BBC to finish that, which will take about, I believe the clarification we have is the BBC is going to take about 372 years to finish the review. So after 372 years, we're going to find out about the BBC's latest meetings, about all the bureaucracy. And hopefully within the next 4 centuries, we will have some changes in the guidelines of the BBC. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.